Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Board No Game video. Today's video is dedicated to a free-to-play team guide that I recommend, the team that I re-rolled for, what my team transformed into, and what my endgame team is going to be looking like. So pretty much this is going to be a full encompassing team comp building guide. Let's jump right into things. So if you go into lineup right here, first things first is Alice. Now Alice is actually a peculiar unit, because she is one of the best light units for buffing specifically, and you can either leave her at level 1. Now, the reason why you would leave her at level 1 is because she can provide all her buffing capabilities without pretty much, maximizing her levels. Essentially, what happens is she increases damage rate for all Miskipula partners for 3 rounds, and when she dies, she also increases attack and defense for some members, and doubles if you're a Miskipula partner. Some of you are wondering, like, what's a Miskipula partner? So if you go into Miskipula, and then you go into pretty much like the idle section right here, and then you go right here into the lounge, these are pretty much all of your Miskipula partners, and she actually increases this area in particular, and she will boost Nina and Saya's damage, and Jasmine, which are all 3 units that you can get for free. So I highly recommend, using Alice for this purpose, putting her in this room, and pretty much making it so that those units deal more damage. Alright, let's go back into here and talk about the rest of the team. So the next unit is going to be Saya. Saya kind of speaks for herself. She's like the token sword unit. She's very replaceable. Like, you can use pretty much any attacker. Like, you could use Pan, you could use Gigi, you could use Mei. The only reason why she's here is because, I need a DPS and she can kill stuff relatively easily, especially in the beginning part of the game. Next is going to be Rikia. Now, you don't have to use Rikia. You can use Miyuki as well. The only reason why I would use Rikia is just because she's easier to build. You get more dupes of her. Of course, your results will vary. But Miyuki is also a great option because she's pretty much one of like the best debuffing units in the game. And just note that this team is built around activating leader skill passives. So pretty much the first one is as long as you don't have 2 energies that are pretty much matching. So for example, I have 2 12 energy comp units. So if I slam Annie in here, I lose the first leader ability. So it's not about the character or partner type. It's about the amount of energy that they hold. That's what will activate this leader skill. And then the second one just have Nina and Saya, or any of these 2 characters within the team. And then this one is have deploy pretty much all classes. And it's just one pretty much class. But that one's this is why this team is set up this way, because I have 1 of each class. Next is going to be pretty much Nina. Now Nina is a staple sword. She's been a staple unit in my entire team. She's just rock solid. She does column damage. And what's even better is that the more she pretty much deals damage, the better she gets. By that I mean, if you look at her passive in particular, you'll see right here, every time Nina deals damage, she increases her own damage rate. And then her unique ability is, depending on how many targets there are, for example, you're probably going to hit 3, she will increase her own crit rate by 17%. So she pretty much increases her own crit, increases her own damage, and she just pretty much rolls into a truck. She's just an amazing unit. The longer that she can somehow survive, but she's relatively squishy. Next unit is going to be Jasmine. Now Jasmine's actually a free character that you can get, as you progress through the game. And she's an interesting healer because to me, in my eyes, she's not actually a healer. What makes her stand out is her unique ability, where pretty much she deals attack to the lowest enemy, and she's really great as a leader killer, and she serves better as a killer than an actual healer. And of course she can do buffs as well. For the most part, I highly recommend using her as an actual assassin attack unit. It's kind of weird. And right here you can actually leave her at level 1. The reason why is because all she does is she increases damage rate and defense resistance, I believe was the other ability. You can see it right here, but pretty much 2 pretty much summons will buff you to the sense of hey, your units will pretty much stay alive longer and you'll deal more damage. So in the beginning, she's very useful as just a token unit. You don't even need to do anything with her and she'll just buff you. Now Victoria is probably the most replaceable unit in this beginning team, and that's only because Victoria doesn't really add anything as far as synergy. The only thing she can really do is activate a leader skill, but she doesn't really help any other of the members. She just taunts, which is okay, and she can provide a shield. And this is why Victoria she's good actually in PvP playstyles where she can attract Pan or Kasumi, but you're probably better off using Shanti or Laurel. But if you don't have them available to you, then you know, Victoria is a great option. Pretty much this is the team that I recommend. Let's talk about the team that I personally re-rolled for. So this is the team that I got in the beginning, which was pretty much Nina, Annie, Yuffie, Miyuki, and Phoebe. Now obviously Phoebe is a $1 character, and then Miyuki I re-rolled for, and I re-rolled for Yuffie. The reason why is because I wanted to, you know, eventually roll into sort comp. So this sort comp is essentially what I ended up wanting to build, and you know, I'm slowly getting there. And of course, you know, all these units sort of synergize together in some way. So Nina's just there for damage, honestly. Anne was just there for tanking and her capabilities. I found her great in like my beginning phase of the game. You know, pretty much like her as an overall tank. Yuffie's there. She's pretty much a staple for sort teams. So, you know, she was a must get for me. Plus she was waifu. Miyuki was waifu. Phoebe was like a steal for $1. And I thought AoE units in the beginning were like really good. But I'm noticing that AoE units have a really huge flaw in the late game because sometimes it's not good to kill all the units. Units like Nina are probably way more valuable, and units like Kasumi and Pan, where you can pretty much pinpoint where you're going to hit. I would say like Column are kind of janky like Chio, but Chio hits like a truck. Anyways, let's talk about another like red team that I also recommend, or you know, if you want to transition into it. So you know, you can use something like this team where pretty much, you know, you have Mary who buffs, you have Shanti who's invincible, Chio who buffs other sorcerers, Sayo for damage, Gigi for damage, Nina for damage, and for tanking, Rie. Rie is possibly the best bar sort in the entire game, or the best rare unit in the entire game. In my opinion, just because she hits hard, she can last like one death, like she's immune to damage for one time, and she pretty much can enrage and deal like insane damage. Of course, Hachishiki can pretty much do the same thing, except she can't be immune to damage, but she can pretty much just be dropped, and you know, she instantly deals more damage than Rie. But Rie and Hachi can't be on the same team, so it's super unfortunate. I wish they could, but it'd be kind of broken because they both hit like stupid hard. And of course, Jasmine and Miyuki, you know, this is the team that I personally used to use. You know, Mary for the buffs, Chio for the buffs, Gigi for the actual attack capabilities, and the fact that pretty much any unit that's below 14 energy will deal more damage. If you're wondering what that is, you pretty much just look at her passive. Damage rate of partners was less than 14 energy, increases by 15%. Plus, Gigi is pretty much a staple for leader killer comp, so she goes well there. And of course you can use Maki instead, but I just like Gigi better because I don't have a very good Maki personally. Next is going to be Nina. You know, we talked about Nina. Nina's just a great unit. She's a solid DPS. She just carries herself on her own shoulders. Annie, she gets stronger with the more sorts there are on the team. So you can't really go wrong there. Like if you want to look at like Annie's capabilities on her passive, pretty much when Annie is present, damage rate of ally partner sorts classes increases by 30%. Every empty position also increases Annie's damage resistance by 3%. She just makes sort comp broken. That's why she's good, and she even increases the damage resistance for the leader. I know there's like a lot of, you know, great tanks in the game, but she just works well. You can replace her with Selena. For the most part, it works out okay. At the end of the day, like, I don't really expect most of my members to live that long. And then we have Rie, you know, I replaced her with Hachishiki. She deals damage. Jasmine for, you know, leader killing. Honestly, like, I would replace Jasmine with Pan, because Pan has been like my carry ever since like chapter 9 started. Like, she's just pretty much carried me from like chapter 9 all the way to like chapter 16 where I'm at now. And then, you know, we have our normal units, Yuffie, Miyuki, and Phoebe. Now, a couple of recommendations before we walk out on this video. I want us to note that there is definitely a dust shortage, which leads me onto a couple of things. If you're having issues with dust, I highly recommend just focusing on a couple of units, and this is why resource management is important. You can play the game like however you want, but I'm just saying if you're having a dust issue, try not to build every single unit because dust is pretty expensive and it's hard to come by. The only way to come by dust is, you know, by summoning, and of course, like, you can do like Illusion Corridor and Arcana, but that doesn't really provide that much dust, you know. I hope they add other features, like for example, if we can get dust from like daily trials, if we could get dust from like, you know, exploration, if we could get dust from pretty much every single game mode, like Dream Expedition for example, then, you know, that'd be really great. I think that would be like welcome things. And of course, you know, if you want to maximize your diamonds, make sure to invest in your Miscipula as a free-to-play. That's probably better better than investing in summons. And if you want to save your diamonds, then I recommend saving for limited banners. But the thing is, you know, you should technically accumulate enough tickets to get like 7 tickets per week if you're doing your dailies, because each, you know, full daily grants you a limited ticket. And then plus you get 2 tickets as soon as the new limited banner drops usually. So, you know, ideally you have enough diamonds to do 2 multis, and that's what you should be saving for. But honestly, like, you should probably save your diamonds for like standard banners like this. This is a pretty decent standard banner. This one's okay, but honestly the only good unit is Vivian. But the thing is like, these standard banners, they never really give the unit that you want, so take these with a grain of salt. I honestly use these for dust farming. And don't forget about, you know, all these other different summoning modes. Make sure to get at least 1 Nicola after this ends, even though, you know, the next unit that's going to be the guild summon is going to be Anna, and our next limited banner after Kasumi is actually going to be Anna. So Anna's coming within like the next 24 hours as of the recording of this video. And this is Nicoplaysnick's free-to-play sorcerer team. I have to say, this is by far one of the best templates for a team that any free-to-play should build. And a lot of you are probably looking at this like, what the heck, this isn't free-to-play, you know, Kasumi's on this thing, Nicola, Miyuki, and Yuppie's on this thing. I know they're hard, you know, units to get, the SSRs, but a majority of these units, as you play the game for at least more than a week, I would say, you're probably gonna acquire most of these units. Like, don't try to compare yourself to, like, you know, top high-end players in Wales, right? Like, that's not the point of this game. So you don't have to run this comp, but I'm just saying this is the most effective comp to build as a free-to-play. Remember, nothing's ever set in stone, so always play how you want, because at the end of the day, it is a game. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got inspiration for your team comps. Essentially, passives like really help. And of course, at the end of the day, like, you know, the gear that you pick out for your characters and all the nuances with levels will really help. It's all about like enjoyment and what you want your team to do. Do you want your team to just like, you know, tank, or do you want your team to deal damage? And if you want to see, you know, sorcerer gameplay, I can totally do that. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. I will see you in the next one.